Hello everyone, and welcome to our Circle and Salve Women. Today we're going to focus in on structuring your message so that it is being heard. And I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to have a floor plan. And just like building a home, you have to start off with a blueprint. Otherwise, the measurements and what you expected in your mind may not always communicate correctly with everybody else that is working as a team to develop and build it and then put it into reality for you. Now, if you are, whether you're an instructor, a professor, or just a speaker, and you have a lesson or a lecture or a seminar, you really have to embrace preparation and knowing that, okay, as you get good at it, we know we can just go ahead and come in and be able to improvise, right? Because it becomes natural for us. But then even in the natural state, we have already developed some form of habituation where you know that there are certain things that you should actually have lined up and able to go, okay, I'm being purposeful with my message today, the content that I want the people to leave with, so that they can then go back and go, that was worthwhile. And so at anything that you do, you have to think, what are my fundamentals? And so for me, in all the years that I have taught, I really even think to myself, you know, as the time progresses and then I'm ready to start speaking on a wider range and I'm able to then communicate with people on a bigger level or, you know, stage and so forth, whatever my calling will be, I really would like to think that it has something to do with, first, your preparation of materials. And when I say materials, what is it that your audience, you would want them to have in as they're being seated? What is it? Do they need a pen? Do they need a pencil? Do they need a notebook? What is it that will help them so that everybody starts off with a no excuse policy, and knowing that when you're coming in here, I expect you to be getting just as much as someone else next to you. And typically by the time that you are doing a lecture or a seminar, you know people are paying for their time and that they are really hoping to get something out of it from you. And so you have to ask yourself, well, then how am I going to prepare them so that they are empowered from all of this and that they will come out a better person with more knowledge? And so for me, that piece is coming in is important. Giving everyone, I used to always say, you know, you're expecting people to race, and yet some people don't have shoes. Some people don't have the right uniform, and you haven't even given them the course. That's everything. That's on you. You cannot sit here and say we did not win, this race, but you have to ask yourself why. Because if at the end you are seeing only the end and yet you're not seeing the beginning and all the way through, then you haven't really seen it through clearly. And it is your job as a leader to make sure that you're seeing everything clearly, so that then everyone who's taking the course with you are being led with some really good faith in your leadership and what you're taking them through. Once you have all the materials that you need, that's including you. If you have something that you have to prepare and that you have to have in front of you, whether it be your slides, whether it be just making sure everything is working and that everything is set up, that is on you also to make sure how long is it going to take me before they come in, and therefore I will look prepared, that I will not look ill prepared, that I will not look like I'm thinking I'm high and mighty and that they have to wait for me, and yet they are now starting to question my authority or question my leadership or question my professionalism because I did not come in at any level of preparedness. And so if you've ever run into that feeling, just ask yourself why. So the next part after that, with all the materials set up, is of course having a do now. Do now is very critical. As you are greeting people, or as people are coming in, maybe you're the type of person that really doesn't like to start until they've already started, whomever your audience may be, then you have to think to yourself, well then how am I going to engage them so that they know exactly what they should be doing at this time? And it could be just a prompt where it's causing causing them to then think about the content that is being taught, to have a title, to have some kind of a focus in there that they are thinking through and knowing, oh, okay, I've walked into this and this is what I anticipate by the time I leave that I will be understanding, that I will be getting some type of information or knowledge about. And so that do now prompts them to think and stimulate their mind and open it up and just trigger some thought process where they have to, think back and can make some connections as to all that repertoire that they have up their sleeve to go, okay, how can I connect with this question? How can I connect with this statement, or how can I connect with this direction? What's it telling me to do, and how am I going to then evolve from it so that if I were to share this with anyone else, they would be able to connect with me? And how would I be able to convey this in a means that others could understand? Do I understand what it is that this question is asking me? And so that's very important, is that clarity of what it is that you expect people to do as they're walking in, so that they're settling in, but they're not just sitting there idling, that they have a purpose and that they are thinking through what it is that you are setting them up to get into, to really delve into. And so it's like that ignition, right? When you're starting the engine of your car, and that you're making sure we're going somewhere, but you've got to turn on this car right now. And so you've got to know where to put the keys in. You've got to know right now, at some point we are going to have a direction, but are you looking at your map? Are you preparing? Are you thinking about your destination? Are you thinking about where we need to go? And how are we going to go there? So that prompt, that do now piece right there gets you going. Now the rest, and I call this you do, we do, I do. And many years ago, I would have thought to myself, it's going to be the other way. And some of you would still probably beg to differ with me, and I'm okay with that. But you could say to yourself, no, it's that, I should show them first, and then we should do it together, and then they can do it on their own. Well, here's the deal. At any time that all of a sudden you start off, this is what I've learned, as soon as I start off me telling them, showing people how to do things, all of a sudden, and this goes way back in high school, I remember I was the bossy person that's like, if you want this A, just let me do everything. And so they would watch me, but are they really learning? Are they really engaging? And if they were to be asked to do it again, could they? Because all of a sudden you'd taken over, you've shown them how to do it, and yet they don't know. They have not had that retention. They have not put it into their memory as to how to do it. All they're doing is watching you how to do it, but they have not applied that understanding by actually trying to explore on their own and engaging all of their stimuli to make connections with their own body and their own mind and their own heart and their own spirit, all of that together to really develop the very same that you have actually done for them. And so as I have developed my understanding for that very importance, I realize exploration is really truly an important piece, because if you've ever traveled the road once, and even if you're following a navigation system, if you're following a map, you know that sometimes you may have taken a left turn, go, oh wait, hold on, let me turn back around, I have to go this way. It is that exploration to be okay with the very first time. It may take us longer to get there. You may not even know if you're going to get there at all, or but our intention is to arrive. And so we are going to just explore by you first doing. Okay. And so in that case, you're going to explore first. And this is that part right here where, because we have been enabled to go, no, it's so easy for you just to do it. Why don't you just do it? Show me how, and all will be in peace. And then all of a sudden this frustration level arises, because sometimes when you have your audience who are so used to go, okay, you know what? I paid you to do this. Why don't you just give me the results? Okay. And all of a sudden they're not used to engaging. They're not used to actually partaking in the try, and all they're doing is waiting for you to do it. And so it's that development of going, hold on, that's not how I flow. You're going to go ahead and try it yourself first. And doesn't matter right now, okay, that you may feel like you really don't know much, but see what you can, write what you can right now of what you know. And knowing your audience, sometimes it's good to prompt. If I know that I have an audience that's a little bit lower in understanding than others, then I will have something that'll go, okay, here's my lead. Okay, but now that you understand this, and it could just be the conversions of something, it could be the formula of something, it could be a statement that will help them and truly have a foundation. And again, it would be just, you know, knowing, hey, here's the starting line, here's what you have, here's the course, now figure out how you're going to get there. That could be just a good confidence boost for each person to go, okay, you've given me something. It's like giving people the recipe and saying, look at the recipe, you've got your eggs, you got all this, here are the directions, you now follow through. So they're exploring, and we all know that if you've ever baked a cake for the first time, it's not going to turn out perfect. It may have perfect, you know, perfectly, and that's a beautiful thing, but you have to anticipate that the very first time you are going through something, that you have to embrace that it is okay. It is okay to make mistakes. It is okay to not feel like you are going in the right direction. And so then the second part comes along. We do goes, hey, let's tag team. What did you get? What do you think? What's your input on this? Let me give you my feedback on what you have given me, and let's see if we can arrive to a agreement, or that agree to disagree. And so that way we know that we're coming in with some form of comfort and relief of being able to converse with one another and communicating with one another. We're truly collaborating here to understand each of our perspectives, each of our thought process, and giving each other that respect. And you know, silently you may think to yourself, well, gosh, you know, they are wrong and I'm right. But yet you have all of a sudden given yourself permission to share great minds around you. And whatever may be wrong in their piece, you are now starting to engage even deeper thinking, going, why are they wrong and why am I right? So that you are actually quietly on your own, giving yourself reasoning, sometimes maybe vocally, of giving yourself reasoning as to why you are correct and that person's incorrect, and so forth. But really embracing that piece to go, okay, now I have an opportunity to see if I'm doing this right. And you know, a person just quickly just giving you that, well, you made a left turn instead of a right. It's very helpful than just sitting there on your own, and 10-20 minutes later you're way off in the deep end, not realizing that you should have made a different turn a long time ago. So that we do piece is really that teammanship. It's so important to make sure that there are those around you that can help you develop a greater understanding of where you're at and where you need to be. And you know what? Even if everyone's like, I have no idea at this point, it feels better to know that you're not alone in not understanding, because now you have a team of people to go, okay, but together we're going to then to evolve to a greater understanding, even though right now we're all agreeing we don't know what we're doing. And that's okay, because that's the fun and the journey of really trying to get deeper into understanding, is sometimes just agreeing all together, hey, we don't all know, but we know we want to know. And so that's the last piece, the I do part, because sometimes you will have an audience where they have been so enabled never to try on their own that they will, even when you go do the we do part and let's turn and talk with each other and see what you guys have come up with and what you ladies have come up with and what everyone has come up with, all of a sudden they are in silence amongst each other, because they know that, hey, at the very end, you're going to show me how to do this. And at the same time, that's okay, because eventually you have already given them that structure of, you know, eventually they're going to crack. They're going to want to talk. There's going to be some things that they're going to go, well, wait a minute, I know how to do this, and I'm going to show you, you know. And so that is that development of structure. And even at the, you know, if you have a class where they have been really used to just you always just showing them how to do things, because you've developed that, eventually that silence when they were to do it on their own, or that blank page when they were to do, they're going to eventually go, well, hold on, I can rise to a different level. And then with that we do part, when they're supposed to talk amongst each other, and then that silence becomes eerie, the next day or the next week or the next month, eventually they'll get to start to know their partners and have that comfort zone to go, okay, we can at least go, what did you get? And so the last part, the I do part, is the part that I feel like, you know, it gives everyone that piece to go, okay, here are some methods you could have done Okay, and here's some options that you could have put in your own perspective. And I always say, do you own your own understanding, because your mind thinks differently from everyone else's. If there are times that you have to draw a picture, if you have to model it in words, or in blocks or so, whatever, or that you have to just create a question and go, I don't understand, and put some notes in there and identify what you don't understand. You're talking to your own brain, not to anybody else's matter or to their business. This is you having a conversation with your understanding, and whatever level of understanding you may have right now is what is important, because then you are going to have that hunger to develop even more understanding. And showing them, here's one method, here's another method, here's another method, and then ask them which one worked for you. Which one did you feel like you really were able to connect with? Were you able to connect with all or none at all? Own it. And giving people that ownership to go, here's where you're at, gives them then that self-reflection to go, okay, it is okay for me to own this and say, I don't know any of that. I don't understand any of that, and it could be a thumbs up sideways or thumbs down, just really, it's for them. It's not for you, because whatever you're teaching, you better well know, what it was that you were teaching, because then all of a sudden you are teaching something that you may not fully know. And at that point, giving that understanding of your own self-reflection and saying, I'm not a master at any of this either, gives people that understanding of, okay, but I know a little bit more than what you may know at this time, and so let us then keep going. And that leadership is always that one step ahead, and knowing that as long as I'm one step ahead and I prepared for them to get to where I was, and then here I am now, and then as they continue to progress, they will be having that sense of comfort to go, okay, they're one step ahead and they're helping me to get to where they're at, and then the next day and the next day and so forth. And that is the idea of that trust, of just knowing that if you are going to lead, again, a lesson, a lecture, a seminar, that they're coming to you for some answers, but they're coming to you with the trust that you also trust them to know that they are coming from somewhere. They're coming from some level of understanding, whether it be 0 level of understanding, that's still a level. If you think about it, that's that bottom floor. But when you're rising, okay, and you're taking the elevator and you're going, maybe you get to the penthouse the first day, but maybe you're just on the 3rd floor. And that's okay, because your view is going to be a little bit different than someone from the ground floor. And yet the ground floor is still that fundamental that is important. We all know if you're ever building a structure, that fundamental piece, that concrete at the very bottom, is so important, because if you're not even understanding that there is a start, then you will not rise to the finish. And having the foresight to know that it's a developmental process gives someone that confidence to go, I'm starting from somewhere, and it's okay that I'm not starting from where you're at, because you never know, like just the turtle in the hare, right? Sometimes that turtle may just take baby steps to get to the very top. If that hare is being a little bit too confident, being a little bit too arrogant to think that they don't need to keep trying, that turtle is going to be way ahead than the hare itself, and the rabbit. And so think about that, in life, and whatever leadership you have, be prepared, and give yourself permission to go, I think I'm prepared. It's okay to be feeling like you're not as prepared as you'd like to be, because that means you care about what it is that you're trying to teach others, what you're trying to embed in others, what you're trying to sow in others. But as long as they're leaving knowing that you did your part, that you gave your 100, and whatever 100 it was, as long as they felt it, and that they knew that you gave your effort to prepare them to get something out of it, then what you did was priceless, and that it was worthwhile, because you did your part to prepare, you did your part to lead, you did your part to direct, and they're going to look back and go, okay, I got something. And that's all that matters. You are that leader, and so believe in yourself and just keep doing what you think is necessary for you to really pass on whatever it is that you're trying to pass on into others. In the words of my mother, God bless us all, keep practicing into excellence. No one is perfect ever, but you can work towards excellence because you have it in you to start from somewhere. So keep building that structure and let us all be at the penthouse. If not, enjoy the view wherever you may be, because whatever floor you're on, there's something great to be found. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you next time.